The evening air carried the scent of cherry blossoms through Hangang Park as Min-jae walked beside his fiancée, her diamond ring catching the fading sunlight. She spoke about wedding flowers, her voice smooth as silk, but he barely heard her. His mind was elsewhere, calculating numbers, analyzing threats, planning moves 3 steps ahead like he always did. That's what kept him alive in his world. That's what made him the most feared man in Seoul's underground. Then he saw her. His entire body locked mid-step, the world tilted sideways. Everything, the joggers, the cyclists, the distant laughter of children, faded into white noise. She stood near the fountain, her dark curls catching the breeze, wearing a simple yellow dress that he remembered buying her 4 years ago. But it wasn't just her presence that stopped his heart. It was the 2 small children holding her hands. Twins. A boy and a girl, no older than 3, with caramel brown skin and eyes that cut through the distance like knives. His eyes. Before we go deeper into this moment that changed everything, hit that subscribe button because this story gets darker, more twisted, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. The little boy turned his head, and Min-jae saw it, the dimple on his left cheek, the same one Min-jae saw in the mirror every morning, the same one his mother used to press her finger into when he was young, back when he still smiled freely. Min-jae? His fiancée's voice cut through the fog. What's wrong? He couldn't answer. His throat had closed. 4 years of carefully constructed control, 4 years of burying emotions deeper than bodies in the Han River, crumbled in seconds. The woman, Zara, her name burned in his memory like a brand, looked up. Their eyes met across 40 feet of manicured grass. He watched her expression shift from calm to recognition, to something cold and defensive. She immediately pulled the children closer, turning as if to leave. Wait here, Min-jae said to his fiancée, his voice emerging rougher than intended. Min-jae, who is that? He didn't answer. His legs moved on instinct, closing the distance with long strides. People instinctively stepped aside. They always did. Something in his walk, in the set of his shoulders, warned them without words. Zara didn't run, but her body tensed like prey sensing a predator. The little girl buried her face in her mother's dress. The boy stared at Min-jae with unsettling directness, studying him with an intensity that children shouldn't possess. Zara. Her name came out like a prayer and an accusation simultaneously. Leave us alone. Her voice was steady, but he heard the tremor underneath. She always was terrible at hiding fear from him. Are they mine? Her jaw tightened. Does it matter? Does it? He stopped, forcing control back into his voice. People were watching. He lowered his tone. Are they my children? You gave up the right to ask me anything the day you called me a liability and walked away. The words hit harder than any bullet he'd taken. He remembered that day. The safe house in Gangnam, her tears, his cold delivery of scripted cruelty designed to push her away before his enemies could use her against him. He'd practiced those lines for hours, knowing he had to make her hate him enough to leave Seoul, leave Korea, leave his world. He'd thought he was protecting her. You disappeared, he said. You told me to. She shifted, positioning herself between him and the children. Actually, you didn't just tell me to disappear. You said I was making you weak, that you needed someone who understood your world, that I was, what were your exact words? A distraction you couldn't afford. Each word was a knife she twisted with surgical precision. He deserved it. I had reasons. I'm sure you did. Her eyes flickered past him to where his fiancée stood watching, elegant and poised. Looks like you found exactly what you needed. Someone who fits. Someone who belongs. The little boy tugged on Zara's hand. Mommy, who is that man? Min Jae's knees nearly buckled. The child's voice carried his cadence, that particular pitch he heard in old family videos. Nobody, baby. We're leaving. No. The word came out harder than intended. Both children flinched. Min Jae immediately softened his tone, crouching slightly to appear less threatening. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Zara looked at him for a long moment, something unreadable moving behind her eyes. Finally, she nodded toward a bench partially hidden by ornamental trees. 5 minutes. Then you forget you ever saw us. She walked toward the bench, the children flanking her like small guards. Min Jae followed, acutely aware of his fiancée's eyes burning into his back. He'd deal with that explosion later. They sat with careful distance between them. The twins climbed onto their mother's lap, still watching Min Jae with those unnerving eyes. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. The girl had his mother's nose. The boy had the sharp cheekbones that ran through the Park family for generations. How old are they? He already knew, but needed to hear it. 3.5. The timeline aligned perfectly with their last night together. The night before he staged their brutal breakup. The night he'd held her and whispered promises he never intended to break, until he learned about the contract on her life. You were pregnant when you destroyed me? Yes. She adjusted the little girl's ponytail with practiced gentleness. Found out 2 weeks after you threw me away like garbage. By then, 3 different men had followed me to work. I'm not stupid, Min Jae. I knew what you are, what you do. I'd always known and chosen to love you anyway. But when those men started showing up, when I realized your enemies had marked me, I understood why you pushed me away. His chest constricted. Then why didn't you come back? Why didn't you tell me? Because understanding why you hurt me doesn't erase the hurt. Her voice cracked slightly. Because I was 24, pregnant with twins and terrified. Because one of your men, the one with the scar, I never learned his name, found me in the hospital after a scare at 12 weeks. He gave me money, a new identity, and a ticket to Los Angeles. He said you'd ordered him to make sure I disappeared completely, that if I truly loved you, I'd never contact you again. Lieutenant Kim, Min Jae's oldest friend, his most trusted officer, the man he'd secretly ordered to watch over Zara without her knowledge. Kim had never mentioned a pregnancy, had never mentioned helping her leave the country, had protected her secret for 3.5 years. I never ordered him to send you away, Min Jae said quietly. I asked him to keep you safe from a distance. Zara's expression shifted, confusion replacing some of the hardness. He said, he made a choice to protect you beyond what I asked. A choice that apparently included keeping my children from me. His choice kept them alive. Zara's voice rose, then immediately dropped as both twins looked up at her with concern. She kissed their foreheads automatically, a gesture of comfort that squeezed Min Jae's heart. Do you know what your world would do to them? Can you imagine what your enemies would pay to hurt these babies just to hurt you? She was right. Absolutely. Devastatingly right. Even now, sitting in this park in public view, they were all in danger. His presence here, his obvious interest in these children, had already marked them. "Mommy's okay," the little girl whispered, patting Zara's cheek with tiny hands. "I know, baby. Mommy's okay." Min-jae watched this exchange, this intimate moment between mother and children, and felt the full weight of everything he'd missed. First words, first steps, birthdays, middle-of-the-night fevers, the 1,000 tiny moments that built the foundation of family. Gone. All of it gone. "What are their names?" His voice came out rough. Zara hesitated, then yielded. "Kai and Mia. Park Kai and Park Mia. I kept your name because I don't know why. I told myself it was for legal purposes, but..." She trailed off, not finishing. "Thank you." It seemed inadequate, but what else could he say? "Don't thank me. I didn't do it for you." Movement in his peripheral vision made Min-jae tense. His fiancée was approaching, her designer heels clicking on the stone path. Her face maintained perfect composure, but he'd learned to read the tiny tells, the slight flare of her nostrils, the microscopic tightening around her eyes. She was furious. "Min-jae!" She stopped a respectful distance away, her voice controlled. "Should I give you more time? Or should we discuss whatever this is together?" Before Min-jae could respond, little Kai suddenly stood up on the bench and pointed past all of them. "Mommy, that car is going really slow." Everyone's head turned. A black Mercedes with tinted windows crept along the park's edge, moving far too slowly for normal traffic. Min-jae's instincts screamed before his brain caught up. He knew that car, recognized the specific model favored by the Huang family, his rivals, his enemies. They'd already found them. His hand moved to his phone even as he shifted position, placing his body between the car and the bench. "Go. Now. Back toward the fountain where there are more people." Zara's eyes widened with recognition. She'd seen this mode before, the switch from man to soldier. She grabbed both children, pulling them close. "Min-jae, what's happening?" His fiancée's voice climbed higher. "Not now." He was already texting his security team, triggering the emergency protocol. "Stay with them. Get to the fountain. Don't run. Walk normally. Go." The Mercedes stopped completely. The back door opened. He moved without thinking, muscle memory overriding conscious thought. His body collided with Zara's, taking her and both children to the ground behind the bench as the first shot cracked through the air. Wood splintered above their heads. Someone screamed. The park erupted into chaos. "Stay down!" Min-jae covered them with his body, feeling the small frames of his children trembling beneath him. Mia was crying, high-pitched wails that cut straight through his chest. Kai remained silent, but Min-jae felt the boy's rapid heartbeat against his arm. More gunshots. Return fire from somewhere behind them. His security team had arrived. The Mercedes engine roared as it sped away, tires screeching. Min-jae kept them down for 30 more seconds, counting heartbeats, assessing threats, calculating exit strategies. Finally, he lifted his head. His lead bodyguard was running toward them, weapon drawn but lowered. "Boss, we need to move. Police are 2 minutes out." Min-jae rose carefully, helping Zara to her feet. She was shaking, clutching both children, who were now both crying, their faces buried in her neck. His fiancée stood frozen 10 feet away, her perfect makeup streaked with tears of shock. "My car! Now!" Minjae's voice cut through the pandemonium. He reached for Kai, but the boy shrieked and clung tighter to his mother. "Don't touch them!" Zara's voice broke. "This is exactly what I ran from. This is why I left. And this is why you can't leave again." Minjae forced himself to stay calm despite the adrenaline burning through his veins. "They know about them now. Everyone in my world will know by morning. You think you can just disappear back to Los Angeles? They'll follow you. They'll wait for the perfect moment. They'll... Stop!" Zara's hand went to Mia's ear, covering it. "Just stop!" Minjae's security formed a protective circle around them as they moved quickly towards the parking area. His fiancée followed silently, her face pale. They reached his armored SUV, and his driver already had the engine running. The drive to his safe house in Gangbuk took 20 minutes. Nobody spoke. Mia's crying eventually subsided into hiccuping whimpers. Kai remained eerily quiet, his small hand gripping his mother's shirt. Minjae watched them in the rearview mirror, these tiny people who carried his DNA, his legacy, his sudden and overwhelming purpose. His fiancée stared out the window, her jaw set. The safe house was a penthouse with reinforced walls and bulletproof glass. Minjae had bought it years ago for exactly this type of emergency. Inside, he finally took a breath. His team swept the perimeter, while a medical doctor he kept on retainer checked everyone for injuries. "They're fine physically," the doctor reported, "but the children are traumatized. They need calm, familiar surroundings." "Thank you, Dr. Han. Wait downstairs." Minjae dismissed him with a nod. Zara had taken the twins to the couch, wrapping them in a soft blanket someone had provided. She hummed something low and soothing, rocking them gently. Minjae watched from across the room, feeling more helpless than he'd ever felt facing armed enemies. His fiancée touched his arm. "We need to talk. Later." "Now, Minjae." Her voice carried steel beneath the silk. "You owe me that much." He looked at her, this woman he'd chosen for all the wrong reasons. She was beautiful, connected, understanding of his world. She'd never ask him to change. She'd never be a liability. She was perfect on paper. She wasn't Zara. They stepped into the adjoining room, leaving the door cracked so he could still see the couch. His fiancée crossed her arms, and he watched her perfect composure finally crack. "When were you planning to tell me?" Her voice shook. "Before the wedding? After? Never. I didn't know." "Don't insult me with lies. I saw your face in that park. You recognized her. You recognized them." Minjae ran a hand through his hair. "I recognized her. The children, I suspected the moment I saw them, but I didn't know for certain until she confirmed it." "And now?" She laughed bitterly. "What happens now? Do we pretend those children don't exist? Do I play stepmother to your secret family while maintaining my dignity at charity galas?" "I don't know yet." "You don't know." She stepped closer, her eyes searching his face. "Look at me and tell me you don't love her anymore. Tell me those feelings died 4 years ago. Tell me I'm not about to marry a man whose heart belongs to someone else." Minjae opened his mouth, then closed it. He'd built an empire on lies and manipulation, could talk his way out of any negotiation, could convince enemies to become allies with the right words. But he couldn't lie to her about this. The silence was answer enough. His fiancée's face hardened into something cold and calculating. For a moment, he saw what she'd be like as an enemy, dangerous in ways different from the men he usually fought. "Your heart is already married," she said quietly. "I won't be second choice to a ghost you couldn't let go." She walked toward the door, her spine straight. At the threshold, she paused without turning. "You should know. The Huang family has been courting my father's business for months. They've made very generous offers. I always told them no out of loyalty to you." The threat hung in the air like smoke. "Don't," Min-jae warned. She looked back, and her smile was razor sharp. "Goodbye, Min-jae. I hope she's worth losing everything." The door closed with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than the gunshots in the park. Min-jae stood alone for a moment, processing what had just shifted in his world. Then he returned to the main room. The twins had fallen asleep on their mother's lap, exhausted from fear and tears. Zara looked up at him with eyes that held too many emotions to name. "She left," he said simply. "I heard." Zara stroked Mia's hair absently. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She was right." Silence stretched between them, filled with 4 years of unspoken words. Finally, Min-jae sat in the chair across from her, maintaining distance. "I need to tell you something about why I ended things the way I did." "I already told you I understood." "No. You understood part of it, not all of it." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "There was a contract on you. 50 million won. The Huang family put it out because they knew hurting you would destroy me. And they were right. I was compromised, distracted, making mistakes because half my mind was always on keeping you safe." Zara listened without interrupting. "So I made a choice. I could either keep you close and watch you die, or I could make you hate me enough to leave. Make you believe I never loved you. Make it so brutal that you'd never want to come back." His voice roughened. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the stupidest. Because pushing you away didn't make me stop loving you. It just made me into someone I hated." "Min-jae, I searched for you," he continued. "Not actively, because that would put you at risk. But I had Lieutenant Kim checking occasionally, making sure you were alive and safe. He never told me about the pregnancy. Never told me he'd helped you leave the country. He made an executive decision that probably saved your life and theirs." He gestured to the sleeping children. "But it cost me 3.5 years of their lives. Cost them a father. Cost you support when you needed it most." His hands clenched into fists. "I can't get those years back, but I can make sure they have every year going forward. If you'll let me." Zara's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You want to be their father now? After everything? After your enemies just tried to kill us in a public park?" "Yes." "That's insane." "Probably." He allowed himself a small, grim smile. "But I'm very good at eliminating threats. And now that the Huang family has made their move, they've shown their hand. I know what I'm dealing with." "And what are you dealing with, Min-jae? What are you asking me to agree to?" He met her eyes steadily. "I'm asking you to trust me. One more time. Let me protect you and Kai and Mia the right way, not from a distance, not through intermediaries. Let me be what I should have been from the start. A father? A family." The word hung between them, fragile and powerful. Zara looked down at her sleeping children, then back at Min-jae. "I've spent 3.5 years hating you, building a life without you, teaching myself that I didn't need you. I know. And now you show up and suddenly want to be involved? Want to upend everything again? I know it's not fair. Fair? She laughed bitterly. Nothing about this is fair, Minjai. Not to me, not to them, not even to your fiancé who just walked out. You're right. Stop agreeing with me. Her voice rose, then immediately softened as Mia stirred. She took a breath, steadying herself. I need more than your protection. I need to know that you won't break their hearts the way you broke mine. That if they love you, you won't disappear when things get complicated. Minjay stood and crossed to the couch, kneeling so his eyes were level with hers, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her brown irises, the tiny scar above her eyebrow from a childhood accident she'd told him about once at 3 a.m. I can't promise I won't die, he said quietly. My world doesn't allow for that kind of guarantee. But I promise I will never willingly leave them. Never walk away. Never choose anything over being their father. And me? Her voice was barely a whisper. What about us? I never stopped loving you, Zara. Not for one day in 4 years. But I don't expect you to believe that or reciprocate. Right now, I'm not asking to be your partner. I'm asking to be their father. The rest, if there is a rest, we can figure out later. She studied his face for a long moment. Kai chose that moment to wake up, his eyes opening slowly. He looked at Minjay without fear this time, just curiosity. Mommy, is this my daddy? The question was so simple, so devastating in its innocence. Zara's breath caught. She looked at Minjay, then at her son. Yes, baby, this is your daddy. Okay. Kai accepted this with the easy adaptability of children. Daddy, I'm hungry. Minjay's eyes burned. He blinked hard, forcing control. Then let's get you something to eat. He stood and picked up his phone, ordering food from his personal chef. As he made arrangements, he watched Zara whisper to both twins, explaining in simple terms what was happening. They listened with the seriousness of children who'd already learned the world could be dangerous. If you've made it this far, comment below what you think happens next. And don't forget to like this video because the next chapter of this story gets even more twisted. You won't believe what Minjay's ex-fiancé does next. Later, after the children had eaten and been tucked into bed in the safe house's guest room, Zara and Minjay sat across from each other at the dining table. The city lights glittered through bulletproof glass. So, what now? Zara asked. Realistically, what happens next? I eliminate the threat, Minjay said simply. The Huang family made a move against my children. That's a line you don't cross in my world. They've signed their own death warrant. And then? Then I make sure everyone knows that touching you or the twins means war. Absolute, unforgiving war. His voice carried the cold certainty that made men fear him. Within a week, you'll be safer than the president. That's not a normal life, Minjay. No, he agreed. It's not. But it's the life I can give them. Security, education, opportunity, everything I never had growing up. Zara was quiet for a moment. They need more than money and bodyguards. They need a father who shows up, who knows their favorite colors and their bad dreams, and what makes them laugh. Then teach me, he said simply. I missed 3 years, but I'm here. Now, teach me how to be what they need. Something in Zara's expression softened slightly. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of a path toward it. Across the city, in a luxury apartment in Gangnam, Min-jae's former fiancé sat across from the head of the Huang family. The old man smiled as she slid a folder across the table. Security protocols, his weaknesses, the location of his safe houses. She leaned back, her smile sharp. You wanted to know how to hurt him? He just gave you the perfect weapon. The children. The children. And their mother. She accepted a glass of wine, swirling it slowly. He's compromised now, distracted, vulnerable in ways he never was before. The old man studied her carefully. And what do you want in return? Her smile widened. I want to watch his empire burn, and when it's ashes, I want what's left. She raised her glass in a mock toast to weakness, and the men who let it destroy them. The screen faded to black, but one thing was certain. This war was just beginning.